Welcome to Motorcycling's Greatest Liar. Being proficient liars, we're going to tell you a bunch of lies amongst which there are some hidden truths. Your task is to work out which are the blatant lies and which are the golden truths. You'll need a pencil and paper so that you can write down the facts that you believe are true. For this great lie, we'll look at motorcycling from a pillion passenger's point of view, and there are 5 truths in this piece. So let's see if you can spot them. Here we go. I'm sure a gorgeous guy wearing macho leathers and a sexy grin often comes up to you and asks, "Hey, you want to come for a ride with me on my motorcycle?" But according to Stephen Hemingway of the American Safe Motorcycling Association, the decision you make on that invitation can be the difference between life and death, or at the very least, boring time in a hospital bed. Now, we all know that everyone rides sensibly, so a rider would never place your life at risk, even accidentally. Even so, what should you look for in a rider so that you know whether to place your beautiful soul in his throttle-twisting hands? If he wears a crash helmet while riding, he cares about his life, so there's a good chance he'll care about yours. And when it comes to that, it's a good sign if he has some basic riding gear for you, so you can be comfortable and safe while riding. Well, once you've got some basic riding gear on and have got to the bike, you're fine to go. Why not invite a friend to join you? A rider can, of course, have as many pillions on the bike as he likes, unless it makes the front wheel too light. If it's just you on the bike, beware of the rider who asks you if you've ridden before, or asks any questions about your riding experience, or even briefs you on what you should do while on a bike. This means he's just being nosy, because he can control the bike even if you have your hands around his neck and are beating your helmet against his in terror. Once you've climbed on the bike, and nearly tipped it over because you stood on the footrest to mount the bike, a newbie like you can expect a good rider to ignore whether you are comfortable and to just roar away without checking that you're ready. Stephen Hemingway of the American Safe Motorcycling Association says that if you feel nervous about the way the rider is riding, you should dig him in the ribs, ask him to stop, and once stopped, politely ask him to slow and calm down. It's your life and your peace of mind, Hemingway says. Remember that the best pillion rider is an ultra-cautious person. No one is so safety-conscious that riding on the back will give them adrenaline-brown underpants. Riders love frightening their pillion because then the rider tenses up and places all sorts of odd inputs into the bike. Well, this disrupts the bike's attempts to remain stable, and all riders love this sort of challenge. Also, if you're a sexy person, male riders just love the over-sexed pillion with wandering hands, even when it gets the rider so excited that something gets in the way of handlebar movement. While your motorcycle chauffeur may think that you're hot stuff, being cold while riding is a bad thing, as your shivering may affect the balance of the bike, while being wet as well as cold is really dangerous, because your makeup may run and you'll be too tired to worry about it. Forget wearing a rain suit if you ride in the rain. If you're an underwater diver, though, you could just wear a wetsuit with armour in the right places. Some pillions wear rain suit that cover the clothes, but that's a bit ostentatious, really. And the rain suit doesn't need to be close-fitting, as getting it caught in the wheel at speed will only cause a little excitement. When it comes to getting on the bike, whether you sit behind the rider or sit on the fuel tank sideways really depends upon how tall the rider is. If he's over 6 foot tall, he will be able to see over you if you sit on the fuel tank. If he can't see over you, it's a bit of a hassle, as if you sit on the tank and the rider is not tall enough to see over you, you'll have to give him a detailed description of where the bike is heading so he can steer in the right direction. And don't forget to wave at policemen if you're riding like that. I'm sure they'll wave back. Now, there's no need to wait for the rider to get on the bike and get the bike in a safe position before you get on it. If you wait, you'll never know whether the rider is strong enough to pick the bike up off you after it's fallen over on top of you. When you get on the bike, step over the bike without touching the footrests and sit on the seat before putting your feet on the pegs. Once seated, give the rider a tap on the back to show you're ready to move off. Now, the tap you use to alert the rider depends upon the rider. If he's a plumber, you can use any type of tap, a pillar tap, a mixer tap, or a washer tap. For non-plumbers, a plain tap is best. Once the bike is underway, your feet must be on the passenger foot pegs at all times, with your toes pointing forwards, of course. except when the bike is at a dead stop and the rider has the front brake on and both feet down. As the bike moves off, many riders will paddle along with one foot, so you can do the same thing. Well, the resulting weaving of the bike will be really enjoyable until you crash. It helps if you, the pillion, look at the road as though you were the rider, because this means you can see in advance all the terrible drivers you should make rude finger signals at. Well, the rider won't mind you giving rude signals to other motorists, because a crazy driver chasing him at speed just adds to the riding fun. When cornering, lean right over to look past the inside of the rider's helmet through the corner. The rider will appreciate the bike dropping into the corner as you do this. When the bike is not cornering, pick the sexiest shoulder to look over and keep your body aligned with the rider's body, making sure you don't jump around or make sudden moves. A pillion jumping around on the back like a kangaroo on a sugar high can cause situations where the rider has trouble dealing with sudden movements, usually smelly ones. And don't forget to lean hard into corners rather than keeping your body aligned with the rider's body. Riders always find it entertaining when a pillion leans too far into a corner and the bike drops dramatically. Finally, I can't stress how important it is to do a full psychological study of the rider before you get on the back of his bike. My friend Ruth went on the back of a bike ridden by a guy by the name of Adam. Well, Ruth fell off the back of the bike on takeoff from the lights, but Adam just rode on, ruthlessly. And now, the 5 truths in the talk. Firstly, all the quotes from Stephen Hemingway of the American Safety Motorcycling Association are lies. Stephen Hemingway of the American Safe Motorcycling Association doesn't exist, although what the imaginary man said is actually the truth, such as the decision you make on that invitation can be the difference between life and death, or at the very least some boring time in a hospital bed. Also, what he said, if you feel nervous about the way the rider is riding, you should dig him in the ribs, ask him to stop, and once stopped, politely ask him to slow and calm down. But the first complete truth is that if the rider wears a crash helmet while riding, he cares about his life, so there's a good chance he will care about yours. And when it comes to that, it's a good sign if he has basic riding gear for you, so you can be comfortable and safe while riding. The second truth is, when you get on the bike, step over the bike without touching the footrest. Don't mount it like you mount a horse with a foot on the footrest before you swing over. Once straddling the bike, then put your feet on the pegs, and once seated, give the rider a tap on the back to show you're ready to move off. The third truth is, once the bike is underway, your feet must be on the passenger footrest at all times, except when the bike is at a dead stop and the rider has a front brake on and both feet down. With your feet on the footrest, this keeps your weight near the bottom of the bike and makes it more stable. The fourth truth is, when the bike is not cornering, pick one of the rider's shoulders to look over and keep your body aligned with the rider's body, making sure you don't jump around or make sudden moves. Looking over his shoulder if possible means you can see the road ahead and better anticipate the moves the rider may make. And the last truth is, a pillion making sudden moves can cause situations where the rider has sudden movements, usually smelly ones. The pillion is a big weight on the bike, and if that weight moves quickly or unexpectedly, it can change the direction of the bike with possible disastrous results. Okay, so how did you go with that challenge? Did you get any of the truths? Well, if you enjoyed this, there are more to follow.